Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to Harvey Cedars, Long Beach Island. I'm happy to be here. Wish I was here under different circumstances, but I'm happy to be here for all the elected officials here, Senator Connors, Assemblywoman DiGove, and the local elected officials. Thank you. Because of the hard work and the dedication of the volunteers and the local officials, the first responders, and each and every New Jerseyan, we're on the road to recovery, making our way back to normal. However, while we continue to focus on making sure that people have power, that fuel's available, that kids are going to school, that roads are clear, there's clean drinking water, we have to begin to work to prepare for the storm that's coming in a few hours. Amazingly, I said to someone earlier today, when I finally got that final kind of forecast that I got last night, I said I'm waiting for the locusts and pestilence next. So we're getting ready for another storm. And I'm here today in Harvey Cedars to highlight some of the prep work that is already taking place. So you can see from all the trucks, the equipment, the activity, we're all working hard together to build up dunes in advance of the nor'easter that's expected to arrive with heavy winds and rains as we go further into the day today through tonight and into tomorrow morning. I want to thank all the volunteers, all the first responders who are here today for continuing to work when I know everyone is tired. I know everybody's tired. It's been a long haul since last Sunday. We all started in earnest getting ready for this and dealing with the aftermath. So what else are we doing to prepare? DEP has provided outreach to coastal towns, encouraging them to move sand back onto their beaches and take steps that could provide protection against storm surges, just like you're going to see here later today. Positive note for the state, reservoir levels and stream and river flows are currently at normal or below normal levels. So they don't pose a flooding threat in the rest of the state. So we're not really worried either from this storm about inland flooding. The National Guard commanders are tracking the progress of the nor'easter and are preparing forces for possible rescue, evacuation, and sheltering operations as directed by the civil authorities. The National Guard's already assisting civil authorities to prepare for the forecasted storm by providing 24 soldiers for an American Red Cross shelter operation at Brick Memorial High School, where the mayor has ordered an evacuation, in addition to assisting in sheltering additional people who are already being evacuated in anticipation of the storm. National Guard will provide tents, 2 mobile kitchen trailers, and in Monmouth County, a dining tent with space for an additional 100 people. We're making sure that people have access to warm meals. The Red Cross and the Community Food Bank have distributed shelf-stable meals to shelters and through food pantries to ensure access to food during the storm. Southern Baptist opened up 2 more kitchens for a total of 6 now across the state, 1 in the Meadowlands and 1 new one in Middletown. They now have the capacity to do 160,000 meals every day. Atlantic County is using the convention center as its only shelter, and that's one of the reasons why I urge the League of Municipalities to cancel their convention for next week, and I'm gratified that Mr. Dressel and the board of the League agreed to my request for cancellation and have canceled that event for this year. There's currently 409 people in the convention center at Atlantic City. They have a capacity to shelter 1,000. They have all the necessary commodities that have been delivered there to support an increase in sheltering in Atlantic County, and we have buses ready to evacuate residents if necessary. All other coastal counties indicate readiness to shelter and feed a surge in residents. That's Cape May and here in Ocean and in Monmouth as well. Middlesex is getting resources in place to support a surge in shelterees and set up a regional shelter at the Livingston Rec Center for overflow. Middlesex also received 5 tractor trailers of water from us on November 6th and expect 20 more tractor trailer loads prior to the nor'easter because of a boil water order. There are approximately 20,000 bottles of water per trailer to give you the scope. So there'll be plenty of clean drinking water for folks in Middlesex County if the worst happens during the nor'easter. In addition, there are 2 tanker trucks of potable water en route to the Middlesex Office of Emergency Management. So we're doing what we need to do to get ready for this, just like we did with Hurricane Sandy. We're prepared. At the state level, we're prepared. We've spoken with county folks as well. Now, let me address in a broader audience the subject that was being addressed to me by every official as I walked in the door. When can they come back onto Long Beach Island? I stopped people from coming onto Long Beach Island in consultation with the elected officials here for the next day or so because of this nor'easter. We don't know exactly what it's going to bring. While we're moving quickly, as you see, to increase the dunes, we don't know how well they'll hold, and we don't know what kind of flooding we'll be dealing with potentially. I didn't want to be in a position where, after taking aggressive action during Hurricane Sandy, aggressive action to evacuate, which saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives, that we make a mistake this second time around and leave our guard down. So I understand that elected officials, and even more importantly, the residents, are anxious to get back here. And I empathize with that. And they have my word that after this storm passes tomorrow, we will sit down and before the end of the week determine an orderly plan to return people to Long Beach Island. And we will do it in a way that hopefully will minimize the traffic and frustration that brings for folks on the way in. Because the weather looks good for the rest of the week after the storm passes, it should allow folks to get here and kind of get a handle on what their lives are like here on the island and get their homes in the correct order. Let me talk a little bit about the recovery that we're in the midst of, rather than the storm we're about to receive. On power, we are now down to 369,000 households without power. That's from our peak of 2.76 million a week ago today. And so, I want us to continue to do better, but we've restored now 2.4 million households to power in a week. And I think that's pretty good work because remember, the utility companies did not start to work until Tuesday afternoon because of the winds. They were not allowed to get up in bucket trucks until afternoon on Tuesday. So we're talking about a full week of work, and they've been able to restore 2.4 of the 2.76 million. But I'll keep saying this every press conference because I know it's the truth. Restoring 2.4 million households doesn't mean a damn thing to you unless your household is one of the 2.4 million. And if you're in the 369,000, you're angry and you want your power back immediately. And I understand that. And that's why this morning we were once again on with the CEOs of the utility companies, asking them what further resources they would need to get things moving more quickly. And they're making steady progress, and it's likely we may see this progress impeded now over the next 24 hours. If winds exceed 40 miles an hour in any of the places around the state where they're currently working, they have to seek shelter. They will work in up to 40-mile-an-hour winds, but once it gets to 40 miles an hour and above, by OSHA regulations, they are required, and candidly for their own safety, to get out of the bucket trucks and stop trying to move electrical wires in 40-plus mile-an-hour winds. So we might see that impeded. I want folks to be prepared for that. I know that's awful to think about, that we're going to slow down the pace and that we maybe take a few steps back. And that's more for the inland part of the state where we're projecting 3 to 6 inches of snow. And that's going to be heavy, wet snow on trees that haven't been knocked down already by the storm and still have leaves on them. So I could see us actually moving backwards and people who have gotten power losing power again, especially inland, because of the snow. It could happen here as well if there's significant flooding and wind damage, but we're not going to know until this storm passes. Another reason why I didn't want to let people back onto the island before the storm passed, because we didn't know we have power now, but we would know if we're going to still have power after the storm finishes. But as of today, Atlantic City Electric has 100% of its customers who can receive power are receiving power. PSE&G has 92% of its customers who can receive power now have it. JCP&L has 84% of its customers who can receive power have it. And Orange and Rockland, 90% of its customers who can receive power have it. Now, on gasoline, we're seeing real results since we put the odd-even system in place and since we started to use National Guard and DOD assets to move gasoline from refineries to gas stations more quickly. This has provided shorter lines, shorter wait times, more order, easier access to gasoline. Let me say again to folks who are listening out there, we do not have a gasoline shortage in New Jersey. What we had was a power outage which prevented the refineries and the pipelines from moving the product, and a power outage that prevented even gas stations that had product from pumping the product because they didn't have power. So no one should panic about gasoline. Please respect the odd-even time. I'll make an evaluation this weekend about whether we keep odd-even in place for next week. That'll depend on what happens with this storm and whether or not we see ourselves backtracking a bit on power both at the gas stations and at the refineries. National Guard also continues to operate 3 fuel distribution points in Egg Harbor Township, in Freehold, and in West Orange, and is providing mobile fuel support for first responders and vehicles supporting critical infrastructure like the power company trucks. So they don't have to worry about waiting in line. They come to one of these places, or we come to them if they have a big yard, and we fuel all their trucks so they can keep moving and keep restoring folks. Roads. Since we've opened up all state roads and have assisted in clearing the local roads, the majority of DOT's resources now is focused on Route 35. The other focus is bringing public transportation back online to the extent possible, considering the damage to the Northeast Corridor line. Emergency conditions still exist and will continue for some time in regards to commuting. NJ Transit normally operates 63 trains a day into New York Penn Station during the morning peak. New Jersey Transit can only operate 13 into New York during the peak because of the severe power outages along the Northeast Corridor because of the damage done to their signal and power system. Jim Simpson, who's not here today, used this analogy. For those who had Lionel trains as a kid, if you remember, like I do, if you put too many trains on the track, the trains moved more slowly. That's exactly what's happening here. So to get them moving at the right speed, we have to put less trains on the track because the power is so down. And we've spoken to the White House about this, and the White House has told us that their #1 public transportation priority over the next week or two is restoring that power to Amtrak. So we have every expert that they could find working on it with us to try to get that done. Let's talk about another step in return to normalcy. That's getting kids back to school. I was just in a school yesterday in Bergen County up in Westwood that was using creative means to ensure more kids were able to go to school. One school had power, the other school didn't. They combined the 2 elementary schools and gave kids a few days last week of time in school with their friends. The kids loved it because they all know the kids in the other school and they all got to go to school together. And the teachers doubled up together and worked from both schools in one school. Now both schools have power, so they'll go back to their normal routine. But that's what I'm asking school districts to do. Be creative. Try to figure out ways to get kids back into school. We're seeing districts with power issues resolving. In fact, right now about 77% of the school districts are back up and operating as of today. And most of the ones who aren't are still having some power issues or have had, like here in the Barrier Islands, especially up north of here, have had significant damage to some of their schools and are not able to operate. Commissioner Cerf is working with those superintendents to get temporary classroom housing into those places so those kids can go back to school in kind of double-wide trailers that are set up as classrooms. Next return to normalcy step is clean water. And we've made significant progress in making our drinking water clean all throughout the state. We have just 4 communities on a boil water advisory and 6 wastewater treatment plants with various levels of operational challenges. Still, mostly those are related to power. Our biggest issue, PVSC, has been resolved. And so those 4 counties, Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, and Essex, are receiving service now from the PVSC. FEMA, 1-800-621-FEMA. 1-800-621-FEMA. Don't forget the number. If you haven't registered, please call and register. It's a very easy process. Please go through it. Now, let's remember, for folks like here on Long Beach Island, FEMA will not be your primary source of funds if this is not your primary residence. Your insurance will be your primary source of funds if this is not your primary residence. If it is your primary residence, then FEMA will work with your insurance company to help on your losses right off the bat. If it's a vacation home, you have to first work through your insurance company and then work with FEMA to try to fill any gaps. So I don't want people who are down here and these are their second homes to be concerned when FEMA says, no, you got to go to your insurance company. And I've gotten a number of these calls back in Trenton saying, FEMA's not covering us. They're not doing what they said they were going to do. They are not the primary person on vacation homes, on second homes. They are the primary folks along with your insurers on your primary residence. So also, if there's folks who have lost power or not lost power, lost their job, rather, due to the disaster. You can file for disaster unemployment insurance relief being funded by FEMA. All you need to do is go to the unemployment website, njuifile.net, njuifile.net. File your claim for unemployment insurance benefits due to the storm, and we will be there to help get that money into your account and bridge you until your job returns. We have FEMA mobile and permanent sites all across the state. We have centers already open in Hudson, Bergen, Monmouth, Middlesex, Ocean, and Cape May. They're open to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. The First Lady is chair of the Hurricane Sandy New Jersey Relief Fund. And I spoke to her on the way down here. As she did yesterday, she's spending all day today working on the relief fund and raising money for the families who are most impacted by this storm in New Jersey. If you want to help, the website's easy. It's sandynjrelieffund.org. sandynjrelieffund.org. She's putting together a board, and then they're going to work on the distribution process for this money to kind of fill the gap between insurance and FEMA for families that are really deeply affected by the losses in this storm. We've gotten extraordinary outreach already from both regular citizens on our website and corporate citizens in New Jersey who have donated generously to this fund. The first donation came from John Hess of the Hess Oil Company, who donated $2.5 million himself to the fund. He gave the initial contribution to get the fund going. And I have to say, when you talk about the fuel situation, there has been no corporate citizen in New Jersey who has been more generous than Hess Oil. They have been filling their competitors' stations. They have been filling the tanks of first responders. They have been filling the tanks of utility companies, moving gasoline wherever we ask them to move it. Every time we've had a problem regarding fuel and we've reached out to John Hess and Hess Oil, they have responded extraordinarily, not only with a yes, but also with crews of people from Hess to help to implement what we need to have implemented. Everyone from Mr. Hess right on down through his general counsel and the folks, the regular working day employees of Hess Oil have been extraordinary, and they deserve great credit, and I want to thank them for it. Lastly, before I take questions from the press, I just want to let you all know, we may take a setback in the next 24 hours. You need to be prepared for that. I'm prepared for that. I hate setbacks. I don't tolerate them usually very well, but this one I can't control. The weather is what it is, and we're going to have to deal with it. DOT is ready in the northern part of our state to deal with the snow. The plows and the salting and sanding trucks are ready. Our contractors are ready to get out there and clear the roads and do what needs to be done, but this storm could have a heavy wet snow and an ice element to it. The biggest risk we have now, along with the high winds, is to take that power outage number up from 369,000 households now to something much greater than that. What that number is, I can't speculate. I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be as little as possible. But I know many of you just recently got power back, and you're going to be real upset if you lose it again. I just got power back Monday night at 6:30 for the first time, so we've had it for about 36 hours. I wouldn't look forward to losing it again, but if that's what happens, we're all going to have to deal with it, and we'll just double back. We have 11,000 utility workers on the ground in New Jersey. We're housing them here. We're not letting them leave. They're staying. We're treating them real nice, and we'll make sure that they stay here and they get right back to work, if they even have to stop work during the storm. In some parts of the state, there's no doubt in my mind they will, and others maybe not. And so they're committed to continuing to work, but we're going to have some backsliding. So I want people to be prepared for that. I want those of you who are listening not to be surprised or think that I'm just up here whistling a happy tune. I'd love to, but I can't. This would not have been my choice to have this happen today. We're making great progress. But if we take a setback, we'll just hitch ourselves back up and drive right back towards the return to normalcy in the state. And it'll be a 24 to 48 hour delay, but then we'll get right back to work. And because the weather looks so good for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we should be able to get right back into the swing of things to get things returned. So I want to thank all the people here on Long Beach Island. You First off, you did an extraordinary job in evacuating your island, and I can't thank you enough for that. You know, we've had a lot of fun with that over the last year or so, with my subtle ways of asking people to evacuate. And I know that there were a lot of people who last year said, yeah, he told us to evacuate last year, and it didn't really hit us that hard, so why should we go this time? If they come back on the island now, they know why I asked them to go. And, you know, predicting this kind of stuff is hard, everybody. But I think my first job as governor is to protect the lives of the citizens of this state. And if that means taking an extra step to make them leave and go someplace else, I'd rather have them leave and be wrong than have them stay and be wrong. Because the consequence of having them stay and be wrong is that we lose the lives of our citizens. And that is my first and most important obligation as governor, is to protect the lives of the people who I have the privilege to serve. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your hard work. I appreciate that we're all tired. And I want to get everything back to normal as quickly as I can, believe me. If we can do that, the people of our state, I know, will fight back and rebuild. And the things both on this island that need to be rebuilt and the things up and down our coastline that need to be rebuilt. So I thank the officials for being here. And I just can take questions from the press. I don't want to take any questions from the general public because then it turns into a town hall meeting. As I've been saying across the state, I don't have my banners or my video. It makes me very uncomfortable to do a town hall meeting without all my stuff. So we'll just take questions from the press today.